Hi everyone and welcome back to the Recreateful channel. My name is Divia and I post DIYs and upcycling videos. In today's video, I would like to show you how I transformed this skirt into these lovely summer tops. I was browsing in my Vinted app and I came across this skirt. Now, I didn't like the style of the skirt, but I did love the embroidery, so I bought it to transform it into something new. I really wanted to create a bustier style top, so I actually downloaded a free bra pattern, which I slightly amended so I could turn it into a top. The pattern that I used is the Maya bra pattern. I've got it linked in the description box and you can download it in lots of different sizes for free. I did have to amend mine slightly, but I will show you exactly how I did that. So now, let's get started. So here's the skirt I found on Vinted. There's nothing wrong with it, it simply just isn't my taste, but the fabric is just super gorgeous. These are the Maya bra patterns, printed and cut out. To adjust them, I firstly measured how long I wanted the top to be and then measured the width of my body where my measurement hit. I then extend the pattern to be as long as my measurement and at the bottom as wide as a quarter of the width of my waist. And these are my adjusted bodice patterns. Also, just a quick tip for my flat-chested friends out there. There's two ways that you can sew these cups together. I have done 2 test runs with these pieces of scrap fabric. This is the way it's meant to be sewn together. So you're basically sewing your inner and outer piece together and then align the curved piece around it and you get this really nice little cup. Now the problem for me is this is the way you're meant to sew it, but it would not look good on me because my body isn't formed like that. So it would actually leave quite a lot of just gaps there and it wouldn't look good, it wouldn't lie flat on me. So what I did instead is sewing it together like so, where I still have my inner and outer piece together just like the pattern suggests, but then the curved part, I sew it along the flatter side of the cup, and that way the cup is a lot flatter than the other one. So I don't know if you can see the difference here. This one fits my body a lot better than this one because it just is a bit too spiky for my body. Just in case you are not blessed up top like I am, then this is just a really good way to go around it and not have such a spiky cup but have a flatter one instead. So basically what you would end up doing is instead of sewing it together like so, what the pattern suggests, you would sew it together like so. I hope that makes sense, but yeah, basically it creates a bit of a flatter curve and not such a spike. Before I cut the patterns, I quickly cut off the hem of the skirt to use as ruffles for my top. This way I save myself having to do the rolled hem. I then take the skirt lining and cut my bodice patterns. I also cut some interfacing and iron this on the lining to give it a little more structure. I then cut my bodice pieces out of the embroidered fabric. Next, I place the embroidery onto the pieces I ironed interfacing on and sew all around the edges of each piece. Now that I got my pieces all cut and sewn around the edges, I pinned them together along the side seam to test them out and see if it will actually fit. And I ran into a little bit of a problem because when I wrap it around my body, they don't actually fit. It's a bit too small and I would by no means be able to fit a zipper in this. So I need to replace some of the pieces. Another problem that I ran into is that this bodice piece, when I place it on my body, it actually doesn't fit nicely around my chest. There's a little too much fabric here. So that would be easy enough to just cut out a bit here. But I'm thinking that this is a good opportunity to rectify that it doesn't fit. So my plan now is to cut through the middle of this piece here and then create another version of this side piece, extend it to the side here. As I can see, it doesn't fit on the side very well, and make the curve slightly bigger, and then that way I've got enough fabric to go all around me and I can make the cup a little bigger. So that's the plan for now. Fingers crossed it's going to work out. I'm obviously working with a limited amount of fabric since I'm only using this skirt, and I do really want some sleeves for this top. So what I did is I wrapped the skirt around my arm on the fold to see how much fabric I would roughly need for a looser fitting sleeve, and I should have quite a bit of spare fabric, so fingers crossed it's all going to work out. So here you can see how I cut the piece apart and drafted a bigger one. Okay, so now that I've done that, it fits much better. It is a little too big now, but that's perfectly fine. I can always take it in a little bit. I've got lots of spare fabric in the back, so I can just take this in a little bit to make it fit just on my side and make sure that I've got enough seam allowance in the back for a zipper. Next, I attached my cups to the bodice, making sure the seams align. I took the sides in slightly and moved the side seam slightly forward. I created some matching lining pieces and attached those along my embroidered pieces right sides together. I had to flatten the top part of my cups because of the adjustments I had made. I clipped the seam allowance and then my bodice looked like this. Next, I cut my skirt hem apart to have one strip instead of a loop and sew a basting stitch all along the top. I then ruffled the strip to fit the length of my bodice. Next, I sandwiched the ruffle between my two bodice layers, making sure the right side of the ruffle is attached to the right side of my bodice. I sew along this edge, and once the bodice is turned right side out, it looks like this. Next, I seam ripped the zipper out of my skirt. I attach this to the bodice by folding the raw edges in and placing the zipper between the two layers. I top stitch this and the zipper is installed. It is the next day and this is where I left off yesterday. So basically the bodice part of the top is complete. Today I'm thinking I'm going to add the sleeves and then we should be done. So basically this is all the fabric that I've got left now. I'm thinking to create like a short sleeve like this, and I should have enough fabric for that. The only problem I have now is that because I've been staring at this for so long yesterday, I'm not too sure if I still like it. I think it's just one of those things that happen when you DIY certain things. If you look at it too much and you've been through so many struggles with one piece of clothing, you actually can't face it anymore. So when I was trying it on yesterday, kind of didn't like it. I'm not sure if it's maybe not a style that works with my body type, or if it just doesn't work with this fabric, or maybe I've just butchered the patterns to just not look right anymore. Who knows? I think sleeves might make it better, and I do really love the fabric still, so it would be such a shame to just call it a day now. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you can get so frustrated with certain projects and it can really wind you up. So to make the sleeves, I quickly put the top on, and now I'm just going to measure the length of my shoulder, which is 43 centimeters, and the distance between the 2 points. So that is 25 centimeters. I created this generic oversized mock-up sleeve shape with my 2 measurements and use it as a pattern to cut out my sleeve pieces. I then seam rip the entire waistband apart to use for the sleeves as well. I then have these pieces of lining which I fold in half and press with an iron. I then place the top edge of my sleeve between the 2 lining layers and fold it over once and pin it down. I also pin the other side of the lining down too. I then top stitch both sides of the lining. Next, I do a rolled hem for the bottom of my sleeves. I cut some elastic to be slightly shorter than my sleeve and feed this through the lining channel. I attach the elastic with a few stitches. I also hem the side notches of my sleeves. I then close the sleeves with a French seam. If you don't know what this is, then you haven't watched enough of my videos yet. Lastly, I attach my sleeves to the inside of my bodice and finished is the bustier top. For the scraps I had left over, I created one front pattern piece that is one rectangle with a slight curve around the armpits and one dot at the side of my chest. I had to substitute some other scraps for the lining. The pattern looked like this and I cut this out 3 times. I created side loops for the back closure and sandwiched them between the layers. The finished top looked like this, and of course I also created a strap for the back. And here are the final outcomes. Honestly, I think this skirt came a really long way and I do love the afterlook. I'd love to hear which of the tops you like better, so please do let me know in the comments. I just absolutely love this embroidery and I really like the romantic vibe of the bustier top, but I also do love the cooler look of the backless top. We also came across this little fox whilst taking the outdoor clips. How cool is that? So that was me turning an old skirt into 2 tops. I think I personally prefer the scraps top over the bustier top, and that's purely because I feel like the bustier style top doesn't suit my body type so well. But that's perfectly fine. I do still like it a lot and will probably get quite a bit of wear out of it. At least I now know it doesn't suit me so well. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments, and otherwise I'll see you next time. Bye!